How are you today?
I'm good, good. Yeah. It's been an interesting weekend. I don't know if you follow the football, but yes, my wife and I watched football. Woke up at 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. and 3 a.m. So yes, I was kind of surprised myself with that.
Oh no, Gordon. I've been watching Spain for a long time. It's their defense. Their offense is okay. It's their defense. That defense is like a wall. But yet at the same time, Argentina, the goalkeeper, did a very good job stopping it. And it wasn't until that last overtime, that second overtime, that they got that goal. But look, I hand it to Argentina. Their goalkeeper was good, but Gordon, that defense of Spain was phenomenal, phenomenal throughout the entire World Cup.
Amazing. Yeah, so I was a bit surprised at how one team dominated so much in the
Yeah.
finals. That's all.
And did you watch the England and France game?
Yes. Oh, that was very entertaining.
Right? Look,
Yeah.
that's not soccer, right? But I really enjoyed the game. It was 4-0, and then suddenly now I'm thinking halftime they're done. France
Yeah.
comes through, and that superstar Mbappe just was phenomenal.
He was really a good, what do you call a game maker, actually.
Yes. Yeah, but the World Cup, I'm not sure how much soccer or football you watch. I don't watch very much, but I was so into the World Cup. I enjoy like right now basketball season, baseball season was on, but I loved it so much.
Yeah. So, are you still doing your fantasy football thing?
It doesn't start until end of August, so that's
Ah,
training camp starts beginning of August, and then the season begins early September.
I see. I see. Okay. Right. Oh, how
Yeah.
interesting.
So, hey, well, before we jump in our article, any newest updates? Anything from Singapore, life of coaching? Anything that's happening in your life?
Uh, well, I nothing except that actually this week we wouldn't have been able to record except that a friend had to cancel our trip because his mom was feeling ill and so he had to stay back to look after the mom. And so here I am.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And here I am. Hey, look, I usually don't get dressed up for our interview. You usually see my kitchen in the background, but I am in Palm Beach today at a Christian Economic Forum where 450 leaders from around the different world are all gathered together. And so it was a good first day, and then tomorrow, second day as we wrap up.
Wow, sounds very interesting. Yeah, just tell me more about it in our next recording.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Gordon, a lot of times our article today is how the Walkman, Game Boy, Liquid Death, and Pokemon became surprise hits. I have a feeling that you probably didn't like Liquid Death. I don't think Pokemon, maybe Crocs is something you're interested. Game Boy, definitely the Walkman, right?
Yes, actually, it was Walkman who drew me to this article. You introduced it, and I'm going like, "Wow, Walkman! That's something that's iconic in my time when I was growing up." So
Yeah.
yeah, here we are talking about it.
Now, Gordon, you don't still have a Walkman sitting there from your old childhood days, do you?
No, unfortunately, I only had, I think, one version of the Walkman, and
Yeah.
it was a very interesting one because I'd done well for my what we call an O levels, which I think it's a I don't know, high school, I think. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so that was a gift from my parents for that.
For those who are listening, who are not familiar with the Walkman, it used to be a cassette. And so you had to sit there, rewind, fast forward. Can you imagine? Okay, I want to play this one song. I think it's at the beginning of the tape, and you had to sit there and rewind, fast forward to find that right song.
Yeah, it's nothing like Spotify.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
tell you.
one of the things that they talked about the Walkman is there with some of these different toys, Walkman, Game Boy, Pokemon, all of those things, they were surprise hits. The Walkman was never supposed to be something that people thought was popular. Wait, why does someone want to carry this box, this music box, and headphones? It looked ridiculous doing it, but look, it really spurned through all of these things, the earbuds, all of that. But before all that was the Walkman, and it was phenomenal. Different from a boombox, different from radio. It was the Walkman.
Yeah, so interesting. So anyone who loves music would have this audiophile speakers and things, and you try to listen to this high quality music. But I've, I, as a young kid, wanted to have this earphones that had this headset that had
Yeah.
cups over your ears, and yeah, and it was wired, so it's rather inconvenient, and yet it was super desirable. I mean, I wanted was a desperation good for me. I wanted
Yeah.
it because I wanted to go use it in the library,
Yeah.
so that I wouldn't be disturbing other people while studying.
And I mean, look, it was invented by Sony, especially the Sony chairman, Japanese guy who really loved the idea because he wanted to listen to opera on long flights. And so he was willing to bet on the very fact that people was willing to do that same too in terms of listening to music. And Gordon, would you say a lot of times you and I have lived enough? Japan in the early 80s was innovative. You thought of Sony, you thought of Panasonic, now is kind of flattened out. Samsung, Apple, all of that have all replaced it. But back in the days, it was Sony, it was Panasonic that was so
Yeah,
creative.
amazing, right? It's so wonderful. So yeah, there we go. Wow. So I must admit that what Walkman for me was very important because yeah, it gave me that interesting. Okay, so firstly, the machine was clunky. Secondly, sometimes the tape got stuck and you had to rewind them using a pencil. I don't know if you
Yeah,
did that.
yeah.
Yeah, so cassettes were very clunky, didn't have hi-fi. Yeah, but that's the way it is.
But yeah, and here we are as we talk through some of those things. You never know what the idea has. You have to experiment, you have to try different things. But this guy also realized that nobody, especially they wanted something portable, they wanted something to carry around, hence the Walkman.
Yes. So my time was the Walkman. My son's time was the Game Boy, and he loved his Game Boy. We had to confiscate it from him so that he could study. And so Game Boy was a big thing for him. And then for my niece and nephew, actually my niece, there was an interesting thing that was not talked about in this article called the Tamaguchi,
Yeah.
and it was trying to keep a electronic pet alive.
Yeah. So, principle one of the things that I talked about is sometimes in terms of understanding the idea when it becomes a hit, the first thing is convenience always trumps the technology. And so, we talked about in 1989, Sega, NEC, Atari battled for market share by looking at portable game consoles. And for literally Nintendo use, here's what they described: old school monochrome LCD, which was a last generation chip. On paper, it should have been, what is this cheap thing? But yet they made it cheap enough where little kids could buy it and became a global sensation.
Yeah, so but my son used it on his trips from home to school, or back home. It was portable. It was unlike your console games, which you're stuck to a TV and which we could have easily banned or restricted his time using it. But Game Boy was addictive to him.
Yeah. And then now these days, when you think of some of the things is ease of use. You think of the earbuds. No longer do you have to wrestle with all the wires and try and get the wires untangled. You just put the earbud and there it is.
Yep. But in the old days, it was something over the ears, and yeah, it was wired, so you couldn't get away from your player.
Yeah. Or even a lot of times, if you look at vacuum cleaners, we have these big vacuum cleaners. Now the vacuums are getting smaller and smaller, more powerful. Or you have the Roombas, where it memorizes your room, maps out your room, and vacuums the entire
Yeah.
room to yourself.
Yeah, and interestingly, so it's very basic technology, but it worked. So I think that's important. Oh, I just wanted to bring up. Did you ever recall a thing called the Apple Newton? It was this very sophisticated PC. Actually, it was like a computer, but it was too advanced. It was way ahead of it. It's one of Steve Jobs' early inventions, but it died.
Really? No.
Yeah.
Okay, and then here's another one. Did you ever remember back in the days we had VHS, right? But for a period of time it was VHS or Beta.
Yep, Beta died because it was
Mhm.
too good. It was too good.
Yeah, to this day, VHS was so. I don't understand Beta. I really don't understand Betas at all.
Yeah, yeah. So, oh, so that's interesting. Oh, sorry. The one that I was referring to was the Nix, the Apple Nix. But Apple had another invention called the Newton, which was like a handheld thing, but it was too clunky. So again, it
Yeah,
died.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so also another one that just recently just died, but it was popular for a period of time. TiVo.
What's that?
Did you ever hear of TiVo? Maybe it was a U.S. thing or in Singapore.
No, I don't know. Maybe.
Before all of the stuff, Netflix, everything, TiVo was the next phase of
All right,
VCR.
TiVo,
It was
right?
a
Yes.
portable recording device for your TV.
Yep. So there we go.
It
So
finally
I,
shut
I would
down
say
like all.
convenience trumps technology anytime.
Yes. Okay. One more, and then we'll go to the next one. You know what has been making a huge thing that's coming back on the market? BlackBerry stock has increased like crazy.
Oh, why?
They're moving into security. No more mobile phones. Security.
Ah,
They
right.
pivoted.
Yeah, BlackBerry had a nice short stint of claim to fame.
Yeah. The second one, the second principle, a lot of times is the street finds its own use for things. Talk to me about that. What does that say? The street finds its own uses for things.
Yeah, so the article talks about Docomo coming up with ideas like yeah, things that they had. But the one that they talked about was TikTok, which you and I know very well.
Yeah.
So TikTok started off as a sort of a short video thing to record how they were using it for dance and so on. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And so it's interesting. So there we go.
Yeah.
So it started off with one reason and now it's for a completely different reason. Oh yes, the Docomo thing was about they had another one, very interesting one, how karaoke got evolved. So
Mhm.
we start off with thinking that this invention is for this purpose, but people make use of it in different ways.
Or emojis or different things like that. And so, Gordon, wouldn't
Yep.
you say a lot of times if you are an inventor or you have a founder, you can't get stuck on your idea so much you're unwilling to pivot. Some inventors, some entrepreneurs, some founders, this is my idea. We got to keep with the idea, but yet at the same time, you're ignoring what the possibilities are as well too.
Agree. Like today, my little phone here, smartphone here, has become a kind of a Swiss army knife for everything in my life.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to one company that was at one point Uber was in Asia, and Uber was in Singapore, was in Indonesia, and all that stuff. And suddenly, Grab started adapting to the Asian market, especially the Southeast Asia market. And eventually, because of its adaptation, it became more than just a ride share. It became delivery service. All of those things. It bought out Uber, and Uber is no longer in Asia, but rather it's Grab.
Yes, and Grab now you could buy food with Grab. You could get deliveries with Grab, and yeah, so yeah, the market determines what's used it for.
Yeah, and it ties in with what we were talking about last week as well too. Sometimes, especially if you're an older organization, you're not open to ideas. Oh no, this is not what we are used to do. And so a lot of times, if you do want to try to find new ideas, you have to understand and be open to new ideas, especially if you bring in younger leadership who are coming up with innovative ideas. Be willing to change, different from what you used to do before.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Which brings us to our next point. I think embrace that power limitation. I think the next point was very interesting to me because you really have to kind of watch what how your consumers use things.
Yep. Give me an illustration one.
Well, they used Nintendo. They suggested Nintendo designer needed a hero for his new video games, Donkey Kong, and I'm sure you and I know Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
But Donkey Kong had a problem. Its screen that it was being presented in was too low tech, so they had to use pixels. Can you imagine?
yeah,
These days, we never talk about pixels.
yeah. And embracing the power of limitations. What are the opportunities with it? Twitter, a lot of times we think of a tweet. Now we think of 140, but hey, look, I mean, a tweet back then was their limitations on technology, but it forced people to be more concise with their words, all of those different things. And what we think is a tweet of 140 words was because of their limitations.
Yeah, exactly that. So it's so interesting because I've forgotten that there was a limitation to the number of characters you have to send a message.
Yeah, because Gordon, you know, and I know, I'm not sure about you. If I look at Facebook posts and it's more than 3, 4 paragraphs, I'm not reading it.
Yep, yes, which is why LinkedIn has that many characters, 3,000
Oh my
characters to be precisely.
there are some people, especially former news, and they're like on my Facebook. I mean, I it disappear, and they write these long articles. If it's more than 2 paragraphs, I'm not reading it.
Yeah, talking about not reading things or narrowing things down. You know what? You are familiar with Trader's Joe's, but we don't have Trader's Joe's here. Tell me your experience about Trader's Joe's. Do you ever use it?
It is very very popular. I love some of there. If you go over to Trader Joe's, there is a certain type of food, all of those things, but within their freezer section, there's just their Trader Joe brand for Indian, then their Trader brand Joe for Asian, for Italian, all pizza, everything like that. And so literally instead of 20,000 items, they cut it to 4,000 items, their brand, a selected few. It is popular, all of those things, and I enjoy my Trader Joe's quite a lot.
So when I was reading this, I was going like, that reminds me of a principle that I now start to think about. And that is don't give people too many choices. They always just give people just enough choices for them to know that they have a choice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Except if you do a buffet. Look, people love their buffets, right? The Asians love their buffets. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes choices make people paralyzed, and I don't know what I want to choose for.
yeah. But honestly, the whole thing is look, embrace the power of limitations. Look at what instead of saying, oh my gosh, I can't do anything, what are your opportunities? Work with your opportunities.
That's right. Yeah.
Last one, create products for markets that don't exist yet. Create products for markets that do not exist yet.
Yes. So this is where they quoted the idea of how karaoke bars started. They said that an amateur singer by the name of Shigechi Negishi dreamed of hearing his own voice, and so he kind of this was the old days of cassette tapes and what they call 8 tracks, and so he wired up his 8 track to his kitchen table, and he sang whilst in the kitchen, and
Yeah.
then his family joined him, and that's how the start of karaoke started, and then he went to bars, and well, it's KTV nowadays for you, and so the limitations of the 8 track, the limitations of just having a little mic, and that grew to do something crazy.
Gordon, you know what I'm doing. When we look at Principle 4, create products from markets don't exist yet, I am
Mhm.
dwelling in the world of AI. You know what I'm asking AI? What are products that China is doing in the world of AI that the US is not doing it yet? Because China is way ahead in the AI tools. And so I want to take some of the ideas that work in China and see if it works in the US and build that out in the US.
Yeah. So, well, you talked about that AI. I talked about we're so afraid that AI will displace us, displace our jobs and all that. But actually, at the end of the day, you and I are really going to be served because you and I are humans, and we're the customers. We're the ultimate customers. AI technology can blossom for all it care. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't serve me and serve you, it's not gonna go well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Last one. Know what data can tell you. Tell me about that one as we wrap up.
Ha! So this one was an interesting one. So I don't know whether this happens to you. Sometimes in a small group setting, for example, in a discussion group or whatever, and you ask, okay, so what shall we do next? Like a Bible study, and you ask, what books, what's the need of the group, and people kind of just let's do a poll, and you do a poll, and they tell you things that they don't really need. At
Yep,
the end of
yep.
the day,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
just have to kind of prescribe what you think is needed.
But if you're the leader of a team, you're the leader of a church group, you're the leader of even sports. A lot of times, if you know your team, you've got to trust your gut feeling because the data could tell you, the polls could tell you everything. But you're sitting there, no, but I know this group so well. Like for instance, a lot of times if you look at Spain versus Argentina, you look at Argentina. They won it the last time. They should win it the next time. They have a superstar. But man, my gut feeling tells me Spain's been so good, so good. God, trust your gut feelings.
Yeah, you got to go with your gut feelings. Yeah, exactly. I don't know whether you've done this, and you get a group of youngsters, and you ask them, so what's your next Bible study topic that you want? And almost inevitably, they'll come up with, let's do Revelations or the end times,
Yeah,
or eschatology, something really huge. And I'm like, okay, there we go
yeah.
again. But when you start on it, they all feel it was very boring.
Yeah, yeah. And so in some sense, maybe your gut feeling tells you, hey, look, instead of doing a poll, look, I want you guys to learn something in the Old Testament, the life of David. You guys have never started, you guys always want to start with the Gospels, everything. Let's learn something and find a character in the Old Testament. It opens a world that you never thought would enjoy.
Agree, agree. And I think the same can go for all kinds of things like sports or whatever.
Yeah. Well, how the Walkman, Game Boy, Liquid Death. We didn't talk about Liquid Death, which is a drink I've never really had before. I don't think you had.
No.
It's been surprise hits. Any last words that you want to share?
Yeah. So sometimes I think we really need to focus on the client who is a human and who needs to get things done or meet his needs.
Yeah. Well, Tuesdays with Gordon, we're back in rhythm right now, Gordon. My computer issues are clear. My LinkedIn, Facebook, all of these things are found on there. We're all good. And we're going to talk again next week.
Yes, we'll talk next week.
All right. Talk